Tonight seemed to be something serious. Because this is trying to find the best way to put it. There's been a shift, and it's more than just a few people. It's a lot of people. Firstly, I do want to address something that is not supposed to be happening again. As the saying goes, history repeats itself unless if you notice the pattern, and put a stop to it before it happens again. That's precisely why everybody needs to know their history. What is on the verge again? It's something that clearly should have been over and done with because nobody should ever have to fear being targeted or even worry about going outside and risk being killed or risk their home being destroyed, turned upside down, and their family, loved ones, and then even their children. Nobody should ever have to face that. However, though, still, this seems to be a reoccurring thing that I've noticed. But the historical point that I'm talking about is the Satanic Panic in the 80s. And to be point blank, shouldn't we all be over that kind of thinking by now? Thinking that it's okay to go after somebody because of their belief system and their faith, and think it's okay to harass, assault, traumatize, or even kill them because of their faith and the stereotype? Really? You think that's okay? It's okay to go after somebody and make the choice because you're making the choice to cause purposeful harm to someone who isn't doing anything to you. If you think it's okay to take a swing at someone, someone's property, someone's investments, someone's family, someone's children, somebody's life, their spouse, because of faith, if you think that's okay, you have a mental problem. Point blank. And unlike others, I'm not one to hold back. Hey, Blue. But nonetheless, swinging at somebody because of their belief system and going off a stereotype, because usually, stereotypically, when people hear about a Satanist, they think of somebody who kidnaps children, kills them, kidnaps like the family pet, like a dog, a cat, and brutally sacrifices them, cuts them in the jugular, and makes a sacrifice to Satanas. That is an overdone stereotype, and it has to stop because it's not cute anymore. However, though, there are some practices that do still animal sacrifice. in the world still. That's a different cultural topic. But the biggest one, what good is it going to be for somebody who's a Satanist to kidnap a child, murder them? What are they going to get out of that? Logically and realistically, even looking at it from a left-handed path perspective, because I was on that path before, and I'm reinvesting in it, but I'm not of that path. I'm reconnecting and actually going deeper myself. It's not going to benefit them at all. In fact, taking a child and killing them, you're taking away somebody's life way prematurely, and you have no idea what that child's future could be. And if you're just going to go off a stereotype, because that's what everybody else thinks and that's what's embedded, really? Have you ever interacted with a Satanist before? Have you ever spoken to one? Have you even had the opportunity to actually learn and know how the faith is and how it's practiced? If not, zip it. You don't have any right to speak about it, point blank, because it's uncalled for, unacceptable, and just downright vilely disgusting to think that these people, by default, they all do this. Let's use our common sense here. I'll even use a really good friend of mine as an example, Kendra. If you know Kendra, you know she is, of course, a dedicated theistic Satanist. And she is so pleasant to speak with, extremely intelligent, extremely intelligent. In fact, she's a published author. And again, she can write. She's gone to university and she takes full pride in her faith and her devotion towards the Thomas. I can most definitely guarantee 100% that she has not done any of the stereotypes that usually the right says that this is what Satanists do. No. In fact, I don't even think she would be able to do any of that. I don't think she would have that in her to take a child and do that. I sincerely don't even, I can't even imagine it. But nonetheless, getting to the point here. Since there is an awareness of it happening again, or is being stirred up again, if you happen to know a Satanist or anybody on that belief system or that path, if you know someone, look out for them, check in on them, make sure they're okay, because nobody should have to be living in fear because of faith. Because if that's still going on, I mean, I'm going to be really point blank. For how old now? We still don't get this idea of like, okay, that's your faith. It is what it is. It's not the same as mine, but it is what it is. I'm not going to go and tell them you're wrong or be rude and then do this. To be completely honest, if somebody was to come up to you and then do that, like if someone came up to me and did that, I would look at them and say, wow, you're kind of rude, don't you think? Didn't you learn any manners? Now, do you even know how to properly address someone? Because if you're trying to say that I'm going to attack you and you need to protect yourself, really? I don't even know you. That is kind of sad that you're thinking that somebody that you've never met is a threat to you, and they haven't even acknowledged your existence. You just walk up to them and do that, just by how they look. Because I've heard incidents of that happening to Satanists, and it really makes me sick. Sick. Because put it this way: imagine this. There is I'm believing it's somewhere in Oceania. I could be wrong though. A a native tribe of people in Oceania, I believe. I could be wrong, but nonetheless. They have a war stance that literally is essentially them like straddling their legs, bending their knees, and it looks like they're sitting down to use that route. And as they're doing that, they're looking right at you in the eyes and going like that. Essentially, what that means is that whomever is being looked at like that, they are they mean absolutely nothing. And what these people do, they use that as an intimidation tactic to scare whomever and then attack and then eat them and then out. And that's part of that Oceania natives um, heritage that's handed down, and that's part of their culture. But still, that still applies to having a faith system, like if you're practice Catholicism, Christian Catholicism. It's the same thing if you go up to somebody and then you do the cross in front of them. It's the same thing. It's still an insult. It's still vulgar. It's uncalled for, and it doesn't need to be done. In fact, it kind of just shows that wow, somebody doesn't have self-control, and somebody doesn't understand that if something, if you don't like something, nothing is pushing you to have to react like that. You're making the choice to think, I think that person's a threat to me, but I'm going to be really rude and inconsiderate and go in front of them and then do that in front of them. What good is that going to do? Except show everybody there, wow, this person has an issue. They have something wrong probably in the head. Again, this is being point blank because some things, especially like this, have to be idiot proof now because I don't even know how else to go about it. And while I'm thinking about it too, because this is another serious thing. If you are aware of somebody who is suffering with a chronic condition and they're in pain daily and they are just struggling with their life, don't be any cause, or at least try your very best to not bring them any unnecessary stress. Try your best because they are already suffering enough and and knowingly contributing to their already not so well state of living. Their quality of life is already not that well. Making it worse and knowing that you're making it worse or making a choice because of it to actually cause it to decay faster or make it worse, and you know that's your choice is going to do that to them, you know, that's a kind of a that's a kind of person that really needs to get pulled by the side and told, hey, what's wrong with you? You think that's okay? But really? And this goes for anybody who is suffering from a chronic condition such as COPD, fibromyalgia, and or even somebody who's paralyzed or worse, like they have neuropathy, like I do. I have neuropathy in both my feet and legs. It's not to a point where it's horrible, but once in a while, still nonetheless. And making it worse, if it's somebody who is an elder figure, I'm talking about somebody who is older, do you think it's okay to cause them distress? Because the first thing I think it's like there is really no good reason to purposely cause an elder unnecessary stress by your own choice. If you're going to choose to do that, upside the head. No, there's no excuse. And there's no really any just reason to do that. And make it worse, being if you're aware that somebody that is already in a state of hardship and suffering and their health isn't well, or if it's an elder, if you're aware that they're going through unjustful treatment, suffering by the hand of somebody else, if you know about it, I have the highest hopes that you will do something about it because it should not even have to happen. If somebody thinks that using them as stress relief is a good idea, you know, I've heard a lot of dumb things and stupid things in my life, but that's got to be like one of the top ones to use an elder as stress relief, as a verbal punching bag. No, you don't do that. You don't, you don't, you don't speak to them like that because if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be the position where you're at right now if it wasn't for them. Because the older generations are the ones who paved the way for you to have what you have right now. If it wasn't for them, you would not have anything in the current, but like the current state that you're in, like your current living situation, or anything at all. You wouldn't have it because they paved the way for you to even have an opportunity to get it. Now, I'm not saying, if there's a confrontation, that's bound to happen. What I am saying is if you're verbally abusing them, physically abusing them, that's a big no-no. Don't do that. Emotionally abusing them, messing with their thinking process, knowingly doing that, that's the issue. Conflict is always going to happen. It can't be avoided. It is what it is. But still, you have the choice on how you react to it, what you do to resolve it, and how you speak to them. Excuse me. Because I have seen many times in my life, primarily when I was getting into my 20s, from 19 onward, I've seen so many incidences, especially when I used to work retail and my people greeters that I oversaw at the time. I happened to see that one of the people of my generation thought it'd be a good idea to kind of get in her face and kind of talk down to her and tell her and talk to her in a way that just made me just want to go, you know what, dude? Really? Wow. And you wonder why no girl wants you, because believe me, you don't even know how to even talk to a woman. Wow. It's okay. You'll be like the 60-year-old virgin. It's okay. No, 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 no. You don't know how to talk to anybody. Straight up. But the people greeter, she kind of said with me, don't. Because I mean, I was so close about to lose my cool. That close. Yeah, I'm being dead serious. I believe she was at the time 80 years old and walking and limping with a cane. And whenever somebody decides to go after or verbally attack or even cause any kind of attack towards somebody who can barely walk, who is struggling, if somebody thinks that that's okay and I'm around, I really hope they have good reflexes because not, they'll be on the floor before they even know it. One blink, down. And that way, so that way people know, in case I haven't mentioned it before. Hey, Elios, I used to do cage fighting. Used to. And also used to compete in continuous sparring tournaments. And I never lost a fight. Not saying it to brag, just saying that, if it has to be done, I know how to take down someone. Especially if it involves an elder being under fire. Or even somebody that's a Satanist being under fire or being in physical danger. I know how to take down someone. I don't want to do it, but if it has to be done, I know how to do it. Because it's honestly, to me, really sad that society still hasn't learned something so simple. So simple. Their faith is different than yours. What do you do? It is what it is. They can have their faith. I have mine. We're not impeding. If I happen to get curious about their belief and I want to learn about it, I'll go and ask them. Be open about it. The same thing in the other way. Simple. That's all. Don't have to hissy fit because, well, they believe in a different kind of way of my whole entire system. So, does it affect you? No, it doesn't. So if it doesn't affect you, should you hissy fit about it? I hope not. Because if you do, that's like, why are you letting somebody else's life affect you like that? How is it affecting you? How's it bringing harm to you personally? Just you and nobody else, just you. If it doesn't cause any harm to you, don't worry about it. Simple. Like, I don't know how else to make it more idiot proof than that. Because logically, there is no just reason to think it's okay to attack somebody because of what they believe in. Because there are some places that are still far in the position of still murdering and killing one another. Much more gruesome than here. It's much worse. And that doesn't even have to happen. Lives are being taken all because of how a faith is. Is that really how, is that how we're going to go about something so simple as acknowledging another person's faith and then just accepting it? Hissy fit and then, just slapstick the heck out of each other until we stop moving? What gain is that going to bring us? If we win, are we going to be proud that we just killed somebody because they believe something different? That's not something to be proud of. In fact, that kind of shows that, wow, that person has a huge issue because they can't do something so simple and just accept and walk away and allow. That's like, literally one of the top reasons, no, wait, one of the top dumbest things mankind still struggles with. That's being point blank. Because, again, if you're new here, I'm somebody who just tells it how it is, and I'm not nice. But the thing is, being point blank and saying for how it is, regardless if someone says, oh, that's offensive, cupcake. All I have to say is, good. I'll say it again, louder. Don't tell people your weaknesses. Don't tell somebody that hurts my feelings because now they're going to keep doing it. Yes, and but primarily one thing that really needs to be instilled, and I mean, I'll even grab a megaphone, but I don't have one. I'll even say it through the megaphone saying, I'm really glad that I was raised by my grandparents and they instilled their values into my head. I'm glad they did. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the mindset and thought process that I do right now. And it's, to me, it's simple. To some other people, it may not be. hmm But most definitely, I'm really, and I've been this way like I've had this, um, I'm just gonna say it the best way I can. Like by nature, I've always been driven as somebody to kind of just step up and stand up for somebody who is being unjustly treated. Pretty much it really all began when I was in pre-first grade, like before kindergarten. Yeah, that young. Oh boy. I even remember way back in preschool, there was a there was a girl who was from China, and she was the only one in the class that was Chinese. Everybody else like was whomever. And some of the kids were making fun of her because of just how she looked. And when I heard that, I mean, oh, I got livid. I even told him, why you gotta be picking on her? Why you gotta be mean to her? Stop being mean or I'll bop you on the head. As a preschooler, I said that. Got in trouble, but I didn't care because everybody was poking and laughing at because it's just how she looked. And I mean, I just stood up and said, stop being mean to her or I'll bop you on the head. Then, if you happen to go to school when they had like that light system, green, yellow, red. Yeah, I went from green to probably yellow, like that. And I mean, no, I don't regret it at all. Sticking up for somebody who is being verbally attacked or bullied, if you're standing up for them, don't ever feel bad for that. If even if you get beat up for it, you're actually stepping in and taking the blow for them. And you're kind of showing that person that they don't deserve to be treated that way. In fact, nobody does. Because point blank, everybody has something that somebody else can look at and be like, wow, gross. Everybody has something. So since everybody has something, why even do it in the first place? Because in a matter of time, if you're going to be calling somebody ugly, later on in life, somebody is going to cross your path, look at you, and say, wow, you're hideous. The exact same thing's going to come right back to you and then just get you right in the face. And that's the harsh lesson that's going to be given to you. It is what it is. So if that's the case, best not to do it. And it is very difficult to not even do that because by nature, mankind judges. It is what it is. But one of the things that hell is adamant about, just because somebody doesn't look pretty, doesn't mean that they can't be your best friend. Just because they're not pretty to look at, that doesn't mean anything. Somebody who is homeless, hasn't showered, hasn't bathed, hasn't cleaned their teeth, hasn't the best things in the world, and they're just on a bicycle with all their stuff attached to it, as far as you know, that could be a military vet who lost everything and has so much wisdom and so much to talk about. And if you just simply sat with them and talked to them, you would be surprised how much you would learn from them. In fact, you'd probably gain a really good friendship from that. And that's one of the many things that is so simple to do, and it can give you so much back in return. And if you're familiar with Vedic astrology, Vedic astrology, Shani, and who's Saturn, whatever you put out, regardless good or bad, Shani will deflect it back to you. Whatever you put out, it gets deflected back. You put out effort and then you take initiative to assist somebody, that goes out. Assistance and support comes back to you. The same way you threw it out, it'll come right back. Because that's just by nature. That's what he does. 33% of the light casted gets deflected back. Be it good or bad. Throw bad out, it will come back and then get you upside the head. In one of my Saturn videos, I actually mentioned Saturn at the core of it all is your reflection. Literally. He's only your reflection. Whatever's thrown, bounces right back. Good, bad, dribble, don't matter. You put out effort, he'll give you some effort to help you attain what you're investing towards. What you put in, you get right back. So if that's the case, why not take advantage of it and put out your best effort? Even if you keep failing or keep missing it, who knows, maybe the next time is the one you actually get it. And who knows, and maybe the one last time, maybe that's the time when Shunning comes behind you and gives you a good love tap on the tush. And that happens to spring you forward all the way to whatever you're trying to get. But still, another thing I do want to speak about, because mainly that was just the first topic and all that. Make sure you understand and stick up for people that are under fire and don't be part of the problem. As my mixed martial arts instructor taught me, no matter what you happen to, no matter what you do, you're always going to be an example. I asked them, how is that? You're always going to be an example. How is that possible? An example could be either one of two, a good one or a bad one. Which one I'm going to use you as, that depends on what you do. If you're going to be a good example, I'll have you as a good example. If you're a bad example, I'll have you be the bad example. Which one are you going to be? Choice is obvious, of course. Or maybe some people are too dim-witted and they choose the bad example. It happens, and that's the choice you choose. Be the example to lead, or be the bad to show what not to do. Still, if there's anybody that you know that's a Satanist, theistic Satanist, or anything of the Satanist belief system, check in on them. Make sure they're okay and they're safe during this time, please, because we don't need to have anybody fear for their life at all. That's not living. Living is meant to be enjoying your time on Earth. Not being in a state of paranoia and afraid to even step out of the house because you might get killed. No, no. In fact, people who do cause this dread, oh really? Wow. Can't believe that, still people don't get this simple lesson. Wow. Okay. Nope, keep being stupid. No, 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 no. Keep doing your stupid stuff. Hopefully, you might make the wrong step and you kick a bucket and it might take care of itself. And we never had to worry about this stupid virus still going. Oh well. You know, they say sometimes the host kills itself. But anyway, now over to the next thing. And this is really focusing on honoring a friendship or a connection to somebody who you have a history with and you and them have supported one another. Why in the heck would you want to compromise tree? Because believe it or not, going back to pre-first grade, I have a friend still that I know and grew up with since pre-first grade. I'm still friends with him, and I still keep in contact the best I can. And his mother comes up to visit my grandmother since pre-first grade. We're talking like 1997, 98 to now. Still friends. Of course, there was clashes. Of course, there was conflict. Of course, there was like misunderstandings. Of course, there was kid BS. But it's not any kind of BS that is like shady, uncalled for, and just downright really. No. Because if me and my friend can still keep things up between us and keep it as it is always been, I think anybody else can too. And actually make an effort and not do anything shady. Because I haven't done anything shady towards him, but I most definitely know he hasn't done anything shady to me. Because we both respect one another. Of course, he has gone to so many universities and colleges. And I mean, he's a scientist. Don't know exactly what kind of science he's in, but he does have his degrees, and he's still going to school. While I'm over here, and all I got is just my astrology credentials and all the years I've invested in the occult science. Completely different, but still cordial. Ever since like pre-first grade, still. So with that in mind, like I said, some things are so simple, and some things do not even need to even happen. And I don't know why this just popped in my head, but I'm just going to go with it. Is it worth it to lose a friendship if somebody bribes you with something, with a possession, a material thing? Is that worth it? I hope not. Heck, in that kind of situation, here's a food for thought. Hmm. Let's say if somebody bribed you a few $1,000 to backstab a friend of yours. Most of the time, people do it. Hmm. Why hasn't this happened at all? I mean, this is just my opinion. Hmm. Well, there is no rule in the rule book that says you have to do it. If anything that happens, somebody tells you to do that, just and they're offering you that money, do it this way. Money first, please. Okay, I'll do that. 5 years later. Why haven't you betrayed them? Oh yeah, nah, not doing it. You just got all that money and you're still friends with them. If somebody's going to hand you money to do something baneful and malefic, you don't have to do it. Just have them hand up the reward to you up front first. You don't have to do it. It's not that difficult to make it more moral and doing the right thing, but also take advantage of somebody who is trying to push a malefic agenda. Make them look stupid. Take Just take what they're offering you and then just not doing it. Oh, you wanted me to be fat? No. That's what you get for being a twathead. You lost it just out of all that money. You look stupid. And yeah, I still have my friends, so toodaloo, twathead. True story. I'm even also surprised, and I'm going to be completely honest, this is kind of like mind-boggling. How come this hasn't happened in like the political arena? How come nobody's done this? We'll give you all this money and push your campaign. Nothing in the rulebook says, oh, I have to do it. I'm bound by all this money. And no, you're not. You can just take the money and be like, oh, thanks, lobbyists, and then say what's right and not go with whatever BS they want. There's no rule that says you have to do it. If they're going to hand you money and say, please do that, you're going to do it? Okay. Nope. If they're going to shoot themselves in the foot and you're going to gain for it? Okay. Oh, you want me to be painful? Nope. Doing what's right. I'm shocked. Because I don't know about you, but that's like a reoccurring thought that pops in my head like, how come nobody's done this yet? It's so simple to bamboozle somebody who's trying to cause damage and cause distraught, and they're willing to pay for it. So take advantage of that, get paid it, and then just push them away and make them look stupid and teach them a harsher lesson to not be purposely malefic and baneful and causing damage. That's their harsh lesson. If you're willing to bribe somebody to cause damage, you don't need to have that bribery amount. You don't need that. You can have that taken from you and then be made a fool in front of the whole, front of whichever election or however, be made a fool in front of everybody. This this person or company or entity tried to bribe me with all this money, but joke's on them. They gave me the money first, and I'm like, nope, I'm not going to be baneful, but thanks for the money. There is no rule book. There's no rule in the world that says you can't do that. It's true. You can always make the choice to do what's right. But if somebody is pushing you to do something wrong and they're trying to bribe you to do it, take advantage of them. That sounds horrible, but still, you should be always prioritizing to do what's right and what's best. And if somebody's going to bribe you to do something malefic, have them give you the reward first. Then, nope. Because even if they try and retaliate, all you have to say is, well, be ashamed if somebody found out that you were trying to bribe me with all this. They back themselves in the corner and they shoot themselves in the foot. That's none of my business. What do I know? Always do what's right. And don't sacrifice a long term friendship, especially when it doesn't need to happen. Because there is nothing worth losing somebody who supports you, who has invested in your growth and still will. Nothing is worth, nothing material wise is worth it. This piece of kunzite, as much as I love it, I wouldn't give this up if I had to lose a friend of mine. Like say for example, heck, if I had to give this up for Kendra, I can get a new kunzite whenever I need to. I'm not going to lose that. I'm not going to lose a friend, especially Kendra. No, 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 no. Anybody that has invested in my growth, no. This little Morganite piece, I love it. It's beautiful. But if I have to get rid of it in order to keep a brand, meh with it. Possessions and material things don't ever trump, ever. Nothing gets higher than somebody else's friendship, support, companionship, and investment in you. Nothing goes and triumphs over it. And if there's a belief that something does, you need to rethink what is a priority. Because possessions, material objects, should not be higher than people. People should be one of the major things you prioritize. Companionship, support, interaction, exchanging ideas, and growing one another. That should be a priority. Because these possessions, these objects, and I'm only using crystals as an example, all they're going to do, really, logically, is sit there. They're not going to run for you. They're not going to swing at you. They're not going to do anything until you actually pick them up, interact, and hold them, or do your occult practice with them. Other than that, they're just going to sit there until you get them physically. They're not going to do anything until you get them. And the same thing goes with money. No matter what happens, money always goes out and comes back. People, sometimes the same way. However, though, people and friends are not. They should never be seen as a number or a cost that has to be paid. No, that's disgusting. You don't pay to lose. You don't give up a friendship for or or somebody's life for something else. No. People are not pawns. They're not used to be for value. They're not to be used as currency. Come on now. That's just to me, I don't even see how that is an idea to even come about. And for whatever reason now I'm having another thought come in. If you are aware that somebody is in a state of distress because of the actions you chose to take, and if you know that they're in a bad state of mind because of your choices that are continuously happening, now's the time to stop. Because point blank, if you're knowingly making the choice to cause distress to somebody, and you know that that action or that choice causes distress to them, and you're still making it, why? Honest question. Why are you still making the choice to cause somebody else suffering? Why? What good is it going to bring you? Control? Really? Causing somebody distress and emotional, mental distraught? Control is worth it? To take away somebody's sense of security and peace of mind just to have control? Wow. Of all the things you want, it has to be that. And you think you're going to gain that by tormenting someone? If anything, that's just grounds to be like, okay, this person is a threat to society, this person can cause somebody immense grief, and he or she is unstable and is a risk to others. Saying it for how it is, point blank. Inpatient care. A threat's a threat. And abuse is abuse, point blank. And reactive abuse, when somebody is confronting you on some actions you're doing that's causing them distress, and you refuse and you push it back on them, then blaming them for the reaction that they're throwing out because of your action, reaction abuse, and then you're saying that they have a problem and you're not admitting your mistake. Really? That is sad. I don't know about you, but it's much more noble, and you're able to actually have a more sense of peace if you admit the mistake, because nothing is more like nothing is just more distasteful and just downright sickening. Hey Sidri, nothing is worse than that, than just admitting like, no, 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 I don't have a problem. It's you. You're too sensitive. Really, too sensitive, huh? Well, how about this then? If I'm too sensitive, you're just probably just too much of a prick. Bam. And I've said that before. It's just somebody who wouldn't listen to me when I was actually expressing how I felt about the situation. They have. It's just there has been a lot that I've been taking care of, like a lot, and I have a lot on my plate. So I'm not ignoring you. Just so that way you know, it's just being bombarded with a lot of things at once. I'm just trying to take it all as I go. But nonetheless, when somebody is expressing how they feel, regardless of what it is, good, bad, dreadful, and how much you don't want to hear it, yeah, but the stuff that's happening, I can't disclose because it's personal and it's something that's family related. But nonetheless, if somebody is expressing how they feel, even I swear, if this thing says better though again, I'm gonna throw it off a cliff. Anyway, if somebody is expressing how they feel to you, regardless if it makes sense or not, it's valid. 100% it's valid. And you have to accept it. Whether you logically think it makes sense or not, it's valid. And invalidating that makes you deserve a to the face. Point blank, right to the face. And if anything, yeah, but it's difficult. And that's all I can say. If somebody does do that invalidation, if someone does do that invalidation, still stand up for yourself. And even if you tell them, no, how I feel is how I feel. You don't have to like it. Deal with it. You can tell them that. And if they still try and validate you, just straight up tell them, like, I don't care how you feel. You don't have to really like what I'm saying about how I feel. Deal with it. Because how you feel is valid no matter what. And how they feel is valid But if they're invalidating you, no, you can still stick up for yourself, and you need to, regardless of what anybody says. If they keep pushing it on you, okay. Not well, I mean, if you deem fit to spit on their face, you can. Just make sure that you're in it by yourself. But still, if they're gonna still invalidate how you feel and try and throw you to the side, no matter what, no, don't even acknowledge them. Don't even try and bother anymore, because you don't need to have that kind of an individual telling you that how you feel and your standpoint, your perspective is nothing. No, in fact, if anything, they mean nothing because they don't know how to actually take a moment to stop, listen, and actually try and do something to make peace. If they can't do that, that is a social problem, what they have. It's not that hard to listen. It's not that hard to listen. And it's not that hard to negotiate and try and help solve and amend the issue. It's not hard. And this is like basic life skill here. Simple. But people, mhm, and that is a skill. Being able to shut face and listen. I say shut face because that reminds me of my free enterprise teacher that I had in senior year and my criminal justice teacher I had in my junior year. His name was Mr. Edmonds. And what was really sad, as soon as he retired, that's when he passed away. He passed right when he retired. And he was a really good teacher. Not only was he intelligent in the subject he was teaching, which was primarily it was social studies, because criminal justice, free enterprise, and business, that is technically a type of social studies. Yeah. And one of the things he used to say when everybody was being too loud, he used to say, face and shut face. Um, and of all the classes I've had, criminal justice was probably the one that I scored the highest in. I nearly almost got 100% class. Got defamation and slander backwards on the final exam. I got that backwards, and I was so agitated. I'm like, dang it! But anyway, still passed that class I think it was a 96. Hmm. And really, teachers and coaches, like for an example, like in the NFL, I think that's what it is for football. If anything, I think the coaches should be the ones that are being paid the most because they're giving and teaching the players how to play the game and how to actually make the plans to win. All that they're doing is just performing the strategy. Don't you think the coaches and the teachers should be the ones getting the most pay out of that? I think, teachers should be getting the most pay, regardless of what subject it is. The same thing with coaches, the highest pay, I think. Because without them, we would all be all, huh? I have no idea what I'm doing. Still, how can a player play the game if they don't have a teacher to teach them how to play in the first place? Still, that's an interesting question. Still, even teachers such as, especially a teacher that's regarding teaching, say, English, which is, to me, in my opinion, a subject that you have to have. You have to be able to know how to communicate. effectively and be able to write, read, and express yourself in a way that is understandable. That's one. Of course, yeah, of course. That does make sense, yes. But now say, like how with arithmetic and mathematics, well, I mean, still, and I don't know why every time when I try and relate something, it has to be with astrology every single time, but I'm gonna go with it. Put it this way: if you don't have Guru, which is Jupiter, and you have Mercury, well, you know how to have a mundane intelligence, okay? But you don't have the wisdom. If you don't have wisdom, well, you know how to do it. It's just you're too stupid to do it. Because wisdom and intelligence are completely different. You can know that this is the best thing to do, but you're dim with it. Or you can be having the wisdom, but you're not entirely sure about the subject. You know how to prioritize to make sure that you put yourself and your needs and you go towards this whatever subject gingerly, carefully, and take your time with it. And do the best you can to attain an understanding of the material. That's wisdom. Intelligence is like, what about Archangel Raphael? What about him? Because I acknowledge him, he exists, but I don't work with him. Mm, no, it's just that the Sai is actually one of the martial arts weapons I know how to use. And I mean, it's just something that I just do naturally, just by nature. And it's actually kind of odd that you say that, because I didn't expect, that to be related to him. But anyway, the more you know. Because actually, these are actually farm tools, funny enough. And no, for goodness sakes, I am not Electra. I'm not gonna put on. I'm not gonna put on a red swimsuit. Well, hmm. And it's funny you say Bruce Lee because the only thing close that I can say similarity with me and Bruce Lee is the idea of being in flow. Like for example, like when he had the concept of flow like water. I'm gonna take those off so they don't go flying off. Flow like water. Simple. Because if you keep the momentum going, you're able to keep the attacks up and also keep the momentum going to keep striking. That's at the simplistic level. Oh, wrong button. Oh, what happens? As you can most definitely can see, I do not like the light. Oops, wrong button. Off. Well, there are many people that are usually too good for the time that they're in. And this isn't just the only weapon I know of that. The other one is over yonder. I'm going to grab it. This one's actually one of my absolute favorites, even though it's more of a defensive kind of a weapon. It does suck when they're gone, but the thing is, here's this. There's two things I'm going to mention. Number one, it actually makes you have a harsh lesson in appreciating something more and have that understanding of something I love and appreciate can be gone just like that. And once it's gone, it's gone. There's no way to get it back. And I learned that the hard way when I lost my mentor when he passed away in 2019 to HIV and AIDS. All because some smirky twathead just decided for the heck of it to make the medication to kind of slow down the negative impractically and disgustingly high. So in a way, that smuggy twat was who essentially killed my mentor indirectly. Maybe point blank and honest. If he was actually right across the way, I would spit in his face. Because that's really how low he is. But anyway. And also, there's only one real death. And that real one death is the death of memory. Because in, I'm going to try my best to pinpoint the region. Down in, I believe, Mexico, they believe in the three deaths. The first death is the death of the physical body. The second death is the death that is essentially at the funeral service and you're saying goodbye, like the death of that. But the last death, the death of memory, once that death happens, they're gone. In other words, if you can remember somebody, you essentially bring them back from the dead. How though? When you remember somebody, you're reviving them with your memory. They're still alive because in your mind, they're living. You're recalling them. hmm And that's precisely why when you remember somebody that passed away, that's immortality. That is what is meant by immortality. And with that in mind, one of the things that I've said, especially when I was starting working with Held back in 2017, early, like the beginning of 2017, she actually kind of drilled in my head. Mhm. She drilled in my head. Listen, kid, everybody that's dead, everybody, even if you know them or not, acknowledge them. And I asked her, but why if I don't know them? If somebody is dead, they're your ancestor. Okay? All right. But how is that though? All she said was, listen, you see those feet you have there? Yeah. You see the ground? Yeah. They're holding you up. They gave you the right to stand on the ground that you're on right now. All of them. So if they're making you be able to stand on the ground and they're holding you up, they're an ancestor. Even if you know them or not. Because when somebody passes away, they get buried in the ground. Once they go into the ground lifts up and sustains everything else that's above it. Essentially, they're holding you up. So it took me a long time to figure that out. Almost like the whole year until it's just like, oh, I get it. And then, I mean, I remember exactly like as soon as the light bulb went off, I mean, she just put a thought in my head saying, there you go, you stupid dimwit. Wow, it took you that long? Same. still, because they showed you what not to do. And what they did that was wrong, take into account to be like, okay, I'm not gonna do that. And it's a good thing that they showed what not to do. Like I said earlier, it can be one of two examples, a good one or a bad one. Whichever one you choose to do, that's on your. If someone chooses to be a bad example, look to them and be like, okay, they did this and this is what happened to them based on the choice. If it's bad, I'm not going to do it. It's a good thing because they showed what not to do. And you can just learn from that and not even do it and understand not to do it. Good example, what you should strive to do. Because you need to have both the good and the bad. Because if you only have the good all around, you're never going to understand what happens if there's a mistake made. And that's not growth. And being able to be put in a situation where a whoopsie happens. Whoopsies happen. You can't avoid them. There's no way you can not. It, it, some things don't need to be complicated, and usually some things are more simple than you think. But in all due time. But yes, my weapon is fan. And before somebody would be like, oh, you must be like Katana, huh? Not really. hmm But at least for me, in a way, I am kind of in terms gray, but I mean, I just say I'm just myself. I believe what I believe in, which is I acknowledge everybody, and I'm completely open as long as it doesn't swing at me. But there are some things that I have encountered that I do not want to encounter again. But I'm not going to share any kind of negative experience because either way, the realistic thing that has to be said. Turn this up. This thing said battery low. I'm about to throw it up the cliff. As I was saying, regardless of whomever you interact with, if like say if you were after interacting with a certain path and certain spiritual figures, if you never interacted with them before, know your boundaries. State your boundaries, regardless of who it is. Doesn't matter if it's God Himself. There has to be that boundary and respect. Because as far as you know, actually, here's a good example. Say, for example, Satanist approaches you, okay? And if you never interact with them before, but if you're going to believe everybody's stereotype, thinking, it's the devil who's coming after me, he must be bad. No, just because somebody else interacted with them and they got hit upside the head, how do you know he's going to do that to you if you never met him face to face or even interacted with him before? How do you know he's going to come up and just slap you? You don't know that until you actually interact with him yourself. Because there's a fine line between malefic intent with a large scale and between you and another. There's a difference. Because somebody may be more comfortable in the dark, some people are more comfortable in the light. It is what it is. But until you have, if this thing says battery low all the time, I'm gonna flip and I'm probably gonna end the stream because I can't stand it. Anyway, it just did it again. As soon as I said that. Gotta love technology. But anyway, if anything, be open, but take no BS. Make shift your charger, huh? Well, the thing is, this is this has a mic in it. Well, that was kind of rude. Knocked it out of my hand. Anyway. Nah, no jinx. Nope. But if I was to actually unplug my phone right now, because it's still high in percentage, let me see. Yeah, it's at 2%. If I was to unplug it, it would probably just go. "Rrrt." So, just gonna roll with it. But what I was getting at, know your boundaries. Then you most definitely should. Do you invest with Lilith too? Yeah, wired is relatable, but it's only a matter of time before everything's wireless. Because if you have Black Moon Lilith in the ascendant, there's a pretty good high chance, and more likely that being a stamp of approval. Hello's like, come over here. Yeah, this one's mine. Do you have any other? What's your ascendant? As well as, is she joined any other planets in your ascendant? And where's your moon located? Oh, by the way, while I'm thinking about it, in case you didn't see me do the unboxing and walkthrough, moon in Cancer. Oh, wait, so Lilith's in Cancer in the first house? Lilith in Cancer. Wow. So where's your moon at? Okay. 12th house moon Cancer, Lilith in the first house in what sign? What's your first house sign then? Is it Cancer too? Or is it Leo? Well, to put it simply, your moon is being heavily protected by Lilith. Because whenever Lilith is with moon or in the same sign or anywhere close to her, because I say moon to her because generally it's seen as the feminine energy. Either way, still, if Lilith is in the same sign as moon, she protects moon no matter what happens. Because without the moon, she doesn't exist. True story. So with that in mind, you're actually still, it's still, is still strong, and it's still, that effect still happens. Because Lilith, as a celestial body and as a divine figure anyway, she doesn't follow any rules. She does as she pleases. So really, your sense of mental peace, that what makes you feel full, is being with yourself and being able to connect emotionally and with your imagination to the other side. And also, because since love is in the first, but still, again, being in Cancer, you actually are able to find comfort in darker beings too, not just beings that are nurturing and of light. You can also find comfort in the ones that are deemed dark or darker, because you actually understand that they are just as important as the ones of the light. If you have moon in, what's your placements again? because I mean I don't want to give you wrong information. That's just so. I mean, if you do have having love in the first anyway is already a good thing because that's put it simply, like in the video I put out a while ago, you're giving Lilith, a divine being, a physical body, which is what divinity wants. You give that to divinity, well, good luck stopping them, especially Lilith. And Lilith actually becomes part of your entire life. Okay, I got you. Let me see. I don't think this one. So, oh, that's not going to work. Just click some buttons real quick. Don't mind me, I'm just pressing buttons. I would play, the Jeopardy music, but that's copyright. God forbid. Okay. Did you pay for that license? You mean the license, to make you stop? Still, nonetheless. I mean, I just sometimes, sometimes life just makes me go, why do we have to make this more complicated? Why? Please no. Funny enough, not really. No, I used to a while ago, but I didn't watch much of anything. Movies, the same thing. I don't really watch that much movies anyway. There are, but it's few and far in between because I'm very selective of what I watch and I expose myself to because something something so minuscule can actually hinder your viewpoints and all that, and just how the world is, you can be easily manipulated to somebody else's viewpoint or what have you. Not saying that you now don't trust nobody, it's just be very ginger with whom you trust. Ginger, really? Okay, that word made no sense, but we'll go with it. or entertainment. Well, pretty much I just watch stuff on. Pretty much I watch YouTube, the people that I do follow and I do keep up with. But still, I mean, I guess most of the stuff I watch is pretty much just, again, all the stuff I've learned regarding astrology, and I just revisit everything I've already learned. And I mean, it's just a constant revisiting, learn something new, go back at the beginning, go all the way through. Yeah, it is what it is. I'm gonna go there, we're gonna go there, it's fine. Gonna glue that there. Is there anything else I want to plop in there? There, that's fine. Nobody. Funny, that's nice. You have no retrograde planets. Yes, I am. Yes, I am, Claudia. And pretty much I already finished saying what had to be said. So right now it's open for. But so Jeff, you have no retrograde planets. No retrograde planets, which is a good thing. And no, I'm not counting Chiron. I'm not counting asteroids right now. But you have Lilith in 27 degrees Cancer and your ascendant's at 23 degrees Cancer. And since Jupiter is in Leo, she's not being influenced by Jupiter. She's not, because it's a sign difference. But since Moon's in Cancer at 1 degree, and Lilith is also in Cancer, it applies. Remember, Lilith doesn't play by the rules. If she's in the same sign as Moon, she protects Moon, regardless of how far away she is. That being said, like I've said, whenever you feel the most full, when you're able to use your imagination and connect to the other essentially when you're able to be secluded and connect to the other side, but you also find potentially, yeah, other side like the spiritual side or the world that is not being able to be seen with the normal eye, if you catch my drift. But since Lilith again is looking over is being so it's not a jinx because here's the thing, and this is something huge. You can't be jinxed and you can't be affected if you don't choose to be affected by it. If something's going to jinx you, you don't have to accept it. It's just like if I'm trying to give you this. Literally, do you if I'm trying to give you this thing, do you have to accept it? Do you have to take it? No. Somebody's trying to give you a curse or a hex, do you have to take it? No. Nope, you can keep it. Same thing. Same thing still applies. Are you going to curse me? Nah, don't want it. No, no, no. Thank you, but you can keep it. Not lying. You don't have to take the curse. Hmm. It's just how normally the word jinx is viewed. Just it's just embedded as seen as a malefic term. That's why, me personally, I never call any of the goetic divines or any divine of the left, I never call them demons. Word, in my opinion, because I don't like calling them that. It is what it is. You are who you are. It is what it is. Because me personally, I do not like bringing anything that's negative or derogatory towards any of them. You are who you are. It is what it is. Rather it be you, how you are, than something that is not you. Let's see here. Where is your Saturn in Virgo? Where's that? Where is that shiny at? Shiny in the second house then. Virgo looking over at Pisces, going over. Do you have to put a lot of effort towards? Were you were you most of the time having to put a lot of effort towards your mother? Like you had to like really some at times prove yourself to her? And was she kind of a huge influence on your life? Did she be a driving force in your life some way, somehow? Mm-hmm. She's a driving force then, because your psychological health, be it good or bad, is a key component in your life. Without your psyche, you really can't do much. You can't comprehend what's around you. And since you have a Cancer ascendant, Cancer Lugna, as is termed in Vedic, a recurring theme that pops in your head is that you have the thought to nurture someone, support someone, caretake to something, pretty much invest in something and help it grow, guide something, nurture something, caretake to something, defend something, protect something, raise something. A re- and usually the recurring thought is, how can I attend to this? How can I support something? Be it good or bad. I mean, still, something to that effect is a recurring thought, because that's also the first house in the ascendant. Nope, it's not death, because with the sign of Cancer, because Cancer is the sign of the Divine Mother. And what does the Divine Mother do for child? Literally anything and everything for the child. For child, literally, no matter what it is, she puts the child first. Again, I'm talking about just the signs Venus and Uranus in Scorpio. That's something completely different. And in the fourth house, that can most definitely show the way that it is. There could be a love interest that breaks your heart to the point where it kind of mimics how your mother may have interacted with you. The pain could actually be near identical the same. But also, Scorpio is one of the signs that is the most unpredictable. Is unpredictable. And it's the natural eighth house, the house literally where anything can happen. Sudden events. Surprise, now you're a millionaire. Then I don't know where to your left, you look over, then you see a walrus slap you. Literally. That's the sign of Scorpio. It's also the sign that's all about assassinations. Funny enough, because an assassination is a sudden event. You're not going to be like, okay, so Harold, I'm going to assassinate you tomorrow. Okay, sound good? Perfect. Usually you don't. You know, make that known. But it's also related to the occult. So mother could also probably have been an occultist, some way, shape, or form. These things just now. These things both just died. I gotta charge these bloody things. Where's that bloody case at? I had to end the stream right here because something is not right. Something is off. I'll be back when I can. Something's not right right now.